Hello and welcome to the Whisky.com news on the 1st of August 2022. Today we have short news little news on Scotland, and we have a 5-minute news interview in the end, just that covers one news section that I think we already have. First news is Lagg Distillery on Arran brings out their first new whiskey. And it's the inaugural release, and it's split into 3 batches that will be released at the end of August. First one is a 36-month-old ex-bourbon cask matured, and then we have 2 with 30-month in ex-bourbon cask and finishes in the smaller cask. The second batch is then 55 ex-Oloroso sherry cask, and the third batch is 50 liters ex-Rioja wine casks. This 10,000 bottles worldwide. It's a very, very smoky one with 50 ppm, not colored, not chill filtered, and 50% ABV. Really good whiskey. Then we have a new extreme auction with extreme prices, but this time the prices are not that high because it's miniature auctions, and they were auctioning off 2 5 cl bottles of Springbank and Malt Mill whiskey. If I'm not mistaken, the Malt Mill Distillery is that old distillery that was sharing one building with Laphroaig, or it was on the premises of Laphroaig or something like that. The Springbank miniature is from 1919, is 50 years old, and was sold for 8,700 euros roundabout. Then we have the Malt Mill miniature, which is extraordinary because it's just from 1959, which is old but not that old, and it has been just matured for 10 years in the casks, and it was sold for 7,944 euros, which is very much for a 10-year-old whiskey in a miniature. Then we are off to the United States, and Beam Suntory, so Jim Beam, is investing heavily in their Booker Noe Distillery in Kentucky. It's a sister distillery of the normal Jim Beam distillery, and it will have 50 new employees, and it will be producing for Jim Beam. Then we have Jack Daniel's is actually enlarging their portfolio, which is uncommon because Jack Daniel's rarely does that, and they have never done that in the last 25 years, except a few special bottlings which were just normal. And now we have the Jack Daniel's Bottled and Bond and the Jack Daniel's Triple Mash. They are going a little bit back to the design of 1895, so a bit retro style. And it's 50% ABV, both of them. And the mash bill you can look up in the internet because it's very, very detailed. That was it for this week. We didn't have that many news, and now we're going into a little bit of a 5-minute interview with John Campbell. He was long years, he was a distillery manager of Laphroaig, and now he is distillery manager of Loch Lee in the Lowlands. Have fun with the news. So I have a little interview with John Campbell, and you're the distillery manager of Loch Lee. So we just had the news about your first core range local barley. So can you tell us a little bit about that bottling and about that dare to be honest concept?
Hi. We've just released that 10 days now since July the 18th, and so it's a combination of factors, I guess, that brought our barley to release. We were looking to get a recipe created that could be there all the time, and so going through the stocks, we had 3 main cask types. We had first fill bourbons, we had STRs, and we had Oloroso sherry butts. So it had to be a combination of them, and so we've been working since Christmas up until probably about March to get the recipe corrected. And so we ended up with around just over 60% bourbon, just over 20% STR, and about 17% sherry, Oloroso sherry cask in the recipe. So that's where we've ended up. Lochlee has been going since 2018 and 4 years next month. So everyone knows that it's a younger style of whiskey. So what we're trying to create is to show, I guess, good foundations for what Lochlee will be in the future. And just to start kind of sharing, the liquid is good liquid in its own right. And trying to build a wee bit more of the depth that you'll get in kind of older whiskies with the cask styles and percentages. So the sherry is a good example of that, in the fact that it's like what you would call a flavour bomb. So you put in roughly about 17-18%, and it feels a lot more on the palate, just because the other flavours will start to magnify that. So that's just a trick I learnt from an old friend of mine. It's a master blender, and so kind of used that here, and really happy with how our barley's turned out. I guess the dare, to be honest, but it's just like we are who we are, we're comfy with who we are, and we're just going to tell you, like, we're going to be open and honest with what the whiskey is, what's making up the whiskey, and we'll let people decide whether they like it or not.
Okay, so that was your first core range, which is kind of a big step for a distillery, as a young distillery. So what can we expect next?
Yeah, so I guess there's the seasons will continue. So we will do the seasons through the eyes of the farm. So we have still have release summer. It's coming soon, and then we'll do an autumn and winter variant showing different flavours of Lochlee whiskey. And then the obvious thing to do after that was a cask strength. So we will have a cask strength coming, not this year, but probably towards the middle of next year, because the job list is full right now. So we know we need to do it, and we know people would like a cask strength Lochlee. So we'll get to that probably middle of next year.
Oh yeah, that's, I think, what my viewers want to hear. A cask strength coming up. That's some good news. So yeah, that was it with the Whisky.com news and the Whisky.de news. Thank you very much for watching, and see you next week.